Hello everyone, welcome back to Discovering Dawson's Creek on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, before we do start, subscribe and ding your notification bell on this YouTube channel for all the fun stuff we have here, including this show that alternates every Monday with Talking Ted Lasso here on Morgan Hasn't Seen TV. Of course, we have the main podcast feed as well on all major platforms for this show's parent show based on movies Morgan Hasn't Seen itself, and the main show It's a Wonderful Podcast celebrating old movies every week. We're back in Cape Side, or kind of like in a tertiary bit of Cape Side for at least the first episode today, because we have I can use one of my favorite puns, and I realize I've just explained it now, so it's probably not as funny as I usually find it. In that the first episode we've got to talk about today is season 3, episode 7, Escape from Witch Island. Which island, Jeannine? Which one? Which one? We don't know which one.
Oh, yuck.
The witch one. It's literally, I don't know what it is about the ability to change the word,
the use of witch
as a question to witch as a cackling crone with a wand.
Yes,
that just makes me laugh.
The best jokes.
It's just the best joke. I just find it to be the joke. But basically, we have a Blair Witch Project rip-off episode,
and they tell you as much.
They do tell you as much. Yes, they do. They make it plainly obvious. Every character in the entire episode makes it plainly obvious that they're doing a Blair Witch ripoff, and they're going, this is a bit like the Blair Witch Project, that movie that came out not that long ago. Isn't it? Yes, it is, isn't it? I mean,
so
how popular was the Blair Witch? How actually, unbelievably revolutionary as a movie was the Blair Witch Project? We obviously know, but I'm asking it rhetorically. It was an enormous thing. I didn't realize how far it seeped into other media, though.
Yes, I mean, to be so quickly used in the turnaround, because it was like the same year or like the year before. Yeah. So to have such a quick kind of turnaround because of its impact, it speaks to kind of how huge that movie was.
So I mean, it's a fun episode. We kind of start ourselves off with. There's a few weird things that happen and slightly odd pairings, I think, that do carry through into the second episode as well that we've got today, which is a rather emotionally dramatic Thanksgiving episode. Called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. That's not quite as good as the movie, but it's they're playing on movies again. Typical of Dawson's Creek to do that.
We have a particularly sillier one coming up, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, you've informed me on what this is, and I'm going to be shaking my head the entire. Some would say it's similar to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner in one very notable way, wouldn't they? Yes. One very notable way. Not Katharine Hepburn, but somebody else. Anyway, I'm messing around. I'm beating around the bush. Jeannine, get the binder out.
All right.
To get into to start us off.
Yes. So of course, season 3, episode 7.
Escape from Witch Island.
Yes, Escape from Witch Island. So Escape from Witch Island, episode number 307, an homage to the Blair Witch Project.
Is it?
Yes. In a bone-chilling installment, Dawson recruits Joey, Pacey, and Jen to be his guerrilla crew on a documentary for history class about Witch Island, a local spot shrouded in mystery for its reputation of being haunted by witches. They are haunted by tall tales of witches and love lost that has Dawson and Joey questioning their own romance, and Jen and Pacey considering a new kind of friendship.
Yes, Jen and Pacey definitely consider a new kind of friendship. I'd also just like to point out this is exactly the kind of thing that Dawson Leary would do, is have a totally ununique idea and go and do it himself, claiming it's genius.
But again, everyone calls him on it and tells
They
him,
do.
really,
Yes,
Dawson, it's just a Blair Witch ripoff.
they do.
um,
And he's reluctant to admit that, although that's
yes,
quite
pretty much
obviously what he
what's
knows as well,
happening.
what he thinks as well.
Yes. But we also, though this is kind of a fun separate episode where we're kind of changing
Yeah,
locales, we're dabbling in some fun kind of magical things. We still get some of our through line plot where Dawson and Joey are really kind of struggling with the status of their relationship. So that's kind of
they are, yeah.
the continuous element that we're dealing with in this episode beyond the kind of fun aspect.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about it is we don't get all the supporting storylines
Yeah.
almost, do we? That we've been getting throughout the whole season up
Yeah.
to this point. It really does feel like a bottle episode type of
Yeah.
thing where you whack into one location, you switch up the genre a
You
bit,
limit the
and
cast that we see that we're
you
following.
limit the cast, yeah, and you have fun for 40 minutes of television.
Yeah.
You said it were, the synopsis said it was a bone-chilling episode. I wouldn't quite go that far. I mean, what exactly is it doing to you to chill your bones? I don't
I
think it's
mean,
necessarily doing anything
just
like that.
because we're having some scary things happen, it's kind of like the seance episode. Because they actually do witness some kind of crazy things
They
happening.
do.
And then
They
even kind
do.
of the little moment at the end is a little creepy. So
I mean, I just don't know how well it plays into actual creepiness. It's definitely fun. I like
yeah,
witches. I like New England folklore surrounding
yeah,
witches. So I'm enjoying it for that.
yeah.
But one very notable thing I was weirded out with in this whole episode was Pacey and Jen all of a sudden, number one, actually speak to each other, because when does that happen on their own?
I mean,
Hardly ever.
yeah, it's
And number
rare.
two, all of a sudden want to jump on each other for no good reason. I
Well,
put it down to the fact that the spirits were taking over them on Witch Island, to be
I
honest
mean
with you.
but I think it's fair. They do have a pretty lengthy discussion on why they think this might be a good option for them.
Yes, in this
Um,
episode, but not previously. So it seems to
well,
come out of
because it only
absolutely nowhere.
Well, because they are together on this island. They get separated from Dawson and Joey, and they just start kind of talking about their struggles in relationships and love, and the fact that they are both non virgins. So they have found that they enjoy intimate relationships. They're also kind of the wild ones of the bunch. So they kind of
Yes,
lament where the status of their love lives. Jen talks about, hurting Henry's feelings, and so that's made her kind of feel bad and be frustrated about kind of the complications of relationships. Pacey also kind of lamenting his breakup with Andy and saying, she's the one who cheated on me. So I had a normal reaction to that. I think a valid reaction. But yet somehow I'm the bad guy in the situation because she's like treating me like crap. Like I'm the one who did something to her. So them in just kind of being frustrated about the complications of like actual committed relationships and the ideas of that, they kind of find the idea of just having a friends with benefit situation intriguing to kind of
they do.
alleviate all the baggage that comes with the relationships, particularly the ones that they've been involved in. So they think that maybe they're mature enough to maybe just have fun with something like that. And then obviously the little kind of witch's brew kind of comes into play because when they're in the gift shop,
Yes.
Jen finds this book that has a love potion in it. So she decides to like make the love potion and has Pacey drink it, and it's meant to have the drinker kind of fall in love with you.
Yeah.
And so he drinks it, and they, just think it's the silly, stupid thing. And as they're in the woods having this conversation, uh, you know, things kind of start to arise a little bit, and Pacey kind of looks at Jin
Yes.
and says, "I don't know if it's the witch's brew talking, but you're starting to look all kinds of cute." And when he said that, I just got a little,
Oh, was that the line when you start
yes,
blushing a little bit? I see.
yes.
Well,
It was very cute.
look,
So,
the
I mean,
the
I
the
think it's
thing.
interesting. And, they've kissed before when in one of my favorite episodes, the detention episode, the
Oh,
truth
that's
or
right.
dare.
Yeah, yes, but
And
that was a
even when
game. That was a dare. That doesn't count.
yes, but still, I mean, that kiss was pretty, they went for it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, it
um,
was.
and so, I like getting to see more of them kind of hang out and talk because their vibes are kind of more similar anyway. So, I mean, I can maybe get a little bit why you think it feels a little out of nowhere, it feels a little weird because we haven't really seen too much of them interacting. But when they interact, the vibe kind of works for me. And, their lead up explanation to why they would maybe want to dabble into something like this made sense to me as well. So I was just along for the ride.
See, I think I need to reiterate that I don't not like it. I don't not like the pairing. I don't not like or not agree that they are similar. They bring similar vibes as
Yeah.
characters to the whole show. They are the wild ones. They are the outcasts to a
Yeah.
degree. Um, they are the scorned ones almost, aren't they? They are the kind
The
of
kind of hurt.
emotionally hurt
Yes.
ones at the moment.
Yes.
So
Relationship
that
complications.
all 187,000% makes total sense, right? All of that makes 180,000% total sense.
Okay.
Absolutely. The only weird thing I'm bringing up is the fact that it's happening in the first place, because where has it happened before? It hasn't happened before. It comes out of nowhere. It doesn't mean I
Well,
don't like it.
I
I'm
think that's
just
kind of the point though, for it to kind of come out of
I
nowhere.
know it's the, I know I understand it's the point. I understand it's the whole idea of being on this witch island. Things are going awry on this witch island. There's this witch's brew love potion situation. Whatever. You're trying to put a bit of fun on it. You're
Yes.
trying to put a bit of lightheartedness on it. But then you're almost not keeping it light-hearted, are you? You're almost bringing it down into, this could actually be a story point. This isn't
Yes.
just silly, flighty, one-off episode weirdness necessarily. Or is
Yes.
it? And it's
So
those kind of questions that make
yes.
me then think, well, why are they doing it in the first place? I don't hate that they're doing it in the first place, but why are they doing it in the first place?
Oh,
Because
yes.
has it had any background to it other than they are similar characters? But it's had no interaction background to it whatsoever. So that's why I'm saying it feels like it comes
Okay.
out of nowhere. It doesn't at all mean that I don't even like it. Maybe I'm not used to it. Maybe I'm not into it at the minute, but it doesn't mean I don't get it almost,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yes. I mean, as somebody who knows kind of where things go, I know that there actually is a reason for it. So I guess I can that's
I
why I
mean,
can maybe enjoy
yes,
it.
this is
Mm,
yeah, this is why
yes.
this is interesting, obviously, though, isn't it? Because
Yes,
this is
because
what
it
this
does
is
kind
all
of bleed
about.
into the next episode when Jen is kind of, because they kind of, a part of their agreement is, they will make themselves available to the other on a whim, no matter kind of, if somebody wants some, they're like, yeah, call them up kind of thing.
I'd also
So
like to point out it's another reason to forget that the characters in Dawson's Creek are supposed to be in high school and are not, in fact, 23. Because who is doing this at 16?
I mean, Some people are, maybe.
Are you suggesting
I
people
mean,
are doing this at 16? Is
well,
this an American thing?
considering they already have, because Pacey and Andy had a sexual relationship.
No, I understand that. It's the friends with benefits point. Who knows about that
I don't know. I mean, that's their
in
experience.
1999 at
I mean,
16?
they are the misfits. We've established that, so they
Hmm,
know no, not so many bounds. So, I mean,
clearly.
considering Pacey's first time, um,
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
don't forget that I was baffled by that as well, and
yes,
how
and
at
Jen kind of
15 somebody's doing that.
well, and Jen talks about being, physically doing things way even before this age at 16.
Oh, I
So
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, I mean, for these two characters,
Oh,
I could see that for them
no,
because we've
exactly. Again,
established them to be characters who do that. So I don't know that they are like
exactly.
the stereotypical example of what 16-year-olds are doing, because these are two
No,
very specific characters who have done very specific things.
exactly. Again, I'm not saying it's out of place. I'm saying it just adds to this whole idea of
Of where
why
is
do
this
these
coming from? What is this
16-year-olds feel
happening?
like they're 25?
Yes, because yeah, they're not helping it by how they look.
They're
'Cause yeah.
not. They're not helping it. They're totally rolling with it. And here is another very, very heavy example that I feel like we've not had such a heavy example of that,
Yes.
of kind of reminding us that, you know, Kevin Williamson wants to treat his teenagers like they're in the mid-20s. Um, this whole season 3 until this point, this is where it really starts to feel like, this could be like a sitcom about a group of 20 something friends instead of a teen drama, when you're
Yeah.
talking about friends with benefits, and then it comes with the unsureness of all that and strange pairings between certain characters
Yeah.
that you've never even thought about before because they always just come in a group together.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of storyline you would see a in a sitcom about
Yeah.
young
20
adults
something. Yeah.
rather than
A
a high
teenage
school
show.
teen drama.
Yes.
That's where
Well,
my mind's at really with
okay.
it. It
No,
doesn't
I
mean I
get that.
don't like any of it, because I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yes.
mean I don't understand any of it, because I do. It is just
A little bit jarring.
contextualizing it all.
Yes.
It's a bit
Yes.
jarring because there's no context to it all, and this is an episode that is very singular. This is an episode that is
Yeah,
very
that's
on
very
of
kind of
its own style, of its own
yes.
kind, almost.
Yes. So even before you watch the next episode, you're kind of wondering, is this gonna be a thing, or is it just this witch's
Exactly.
brew
Yeah.
magic and that whole kind of thing? Okay. Yeah, so I was very into it, and Pacey being all adorable is just giving me the giggles, so,
I mean, yes, I
you
understand
know,
that, of course.
yes. Yes, but kind of the bigger overarching, concept happening in this episode is the kind of weirdness between Dawson and Joey. I
Well, there's a shock. I mean, my
yeah.
goodness.
We feel like they've maybe kind of worked things out, but they've still been very distant. Like they don't know what's kind of going on in each other's lives. And Joey's been spending more time kind of having a friend relationship with Pacey. Pacey's
Yeah.
kind of been the stand-in place for what Dawson was earlier on in the
I think
series.
this is
So
why I find it weird as well, because I'm sure a few episodes ago, a couple of episodes of Discovering Dawson's Creek ago, I suggested that I thought they were trying to set up Pacey and Joey. Now, whether this happens, I don't know. Don't say anything and anything like that. But it seemed like that was what was happening. And then here comes Pacey and Jen out of nowhere. So maybe that's thrown me off as well.
okay. Okay. So it's kind of messing with what you thought was potentially going
Yes,
on.
which is why I don't
Okay.
like speculating. Stop forcing me to speculate.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so like I don't know how I feel about this weirdness, because it felt like, on the doc, does every Dawson have
It
a Joey,
did.
every Joey has a
It
Dawson, that they
did.
really kind of settled the friendship and that they were kind of settled into each other's lives. Um, But no, they've kind of had this weird distance. She's been hanging out with Pacey. He doesn't know what's going on with her. So, like, he's like, "Oh, I thought you were still working at the dock and, the gas station thing." He doesn't know that she's starting this B&B. And
It
all this
better
whole
not be a back and forth situation, Jeannine. We don't want plot back and forth again.
Yes. And then even when, Joey, she's struggling with her paper, um, Dawson kind of last minute invites her to this Witch Island thing and tells
Yeah.
her that he was already gonna planning to go with Pacey and Jen. So then she's kind of like, "Oh, well, I guess my invite got lost in the mail," kind of thing. So he didn't really even originally think to invite her to this. So just this kind of weird, strained thing, and Joey's kind of getting in her feelings about it. So she's kind of cold with Dawson and kind of biting with him, in her commentary of what he's doing. And then when they get into the island, they get to the island, and we kind of get into this like lost love story about one of the witches who was kind of
Yes.
taken to the island and trapped. Her lost love was what had planned to come to the island to rescue her and this whole kind of thing. So that whole kind of love story and hearing the tour guide talk about it, uh, you know, was making these parallels to the relationship between Joey and Dawson. And so that's kind of something that Joey kind of makes commentary on through
Yeah.
Dawson's documentary and that kind of thing.
It was, and that was interesting, and the mirroring of it all was interesting, especially given that at the very end of the episode, obviously, it's kind of half maybe revealed that the witches' ghosts actually did exist on this island through
Yeah.
Dawson's documentary footage and all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So how true? So if that's true, how true is the mirror image of Dawson and Joey in the present and their situation with
Yeah.
the messy romance of it all, and we don't know where we stand in each other's lives and relationship
Yeah.
point makes you think about that. I like the illusion there. I like the comparisons you can make there, and obviously, side on from that, the kind of messiness of what Pacey and Jen have suggested they want to do as well.
Yeah.
It's all very out there, really, isn't
Yes.
it? And
Y
I like that. I like that all kind of 3 points
Yeah.
allude to each other and almost not mirror each other because they're not the
But
same,
different
but they
facets.
allude to
Yeah.
each other.
Yes.
Yeah, when one goes up, the other goes up, and then the other goes up, and it's
Yeah.
good structure, I suppose, that it does that,
Yes. Do you
and it can
foresee
and it can afford to do that
Yes.
because it's a singular episode, and it's
Yeah.
not really beholden to plot that's come before or after. It's character that's come before and after, not
Yes.
storyline almost.
Yes. Do you foresee Jen and Pacey being able to kind of maintain this casual thing?
No, this never happens in any media ever.
Despite them kind of feeling like they can handle something like this and just have
They
fun
can.
with it,
They're messy.
they have proven to be very messy and very emotional creatures. So
Yes. Absolutely not. It'll last about a month. In Cape Side time,
okay,
not
okay.
in Dawson's Creek time. It'll last about a month, and then they'll go, either we actually have feelings for each other, and them two end up getting together, and my whole Joey suggestion is completely thrown off. Maybe just I'm Team Joey, I don't know. Or it will be the complete opposite, and they'll end up going, this is absolutely awful, I hate you now, and never speak to each other again.
Okay.
Because that's how friends with benefits stories play out.
Okay.
That's always how friends with benefit stories play out in media. They
Well, I'm
either
excited.
absolutely never leave each other's side and grow up and grow old together through, we didn't think this could actually be a relationship. Oh, you're my long lost love, and all that kind of stuff. Or it turns absolutely horrendous. And I'd like it to be the former, because I
Oh
like
my
both of them as
god.
people.
Okay.
But it just won't be, will it? Because this is
Okay.
Dawson's Creek, and we like to punch people in the
Melodrama.
face on Dawson's
Well,
Creek.
I'm gonna tell you, yes, like I said, I know that there's a reason for why this story kind of has come about. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for you to see if you're right or
Oh,
not.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's gonna be look. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be exciting to kind
Yes.
of see what comes from it. I kind of just have to get my head around that this is happening now, I suppose. Would I have preferred it to stay in, or would I have preferred these off romantic feelings to stay within the confines of this singular episode because it feels like such a singular episode? Possibly, because then
Okay.
it at least does make it feel more like its own bottle kind of bit of weirdness, and all the allusions to magic and mysticalness that you're throwing in there can be exemplified
Would
by the
be
fact that you're
attributed to.
dealing with these odd relationship dynamics
Yeah.
within this episode and this episode alone, and then we kind of go back to normal
Okay.
the next episode. That could have been interesting, because then you are suggesting that there is mysticism around this island, but how fantastical does Dawson's Creek as a show want to go?
Yeah.
Not very, really. It's
No.
rooted totally in this melodramatic realism, so it
Yes.
has to stay there. I just it would have been interesting had it not stayed there, I suppose, though.
Okay.
It does make you think. It's a fun it's a fun episode,
Yeah.
and it's a very thoughtful episode.
Yes. So kind of once they're kind of wandering around the island, the tour guide is kind of telling them the stories. She seems scared about certain things that she's telling them. The boat guy's like, I don't stay around here, when it starts to get dark. I'd advise you not to either. If you're not here when I'm ready to go, then you're just gonna be stuck here for the night, kind of thing. So the boat guy and this tour guide lady kind of give an eerie kind of presence to the island, that they
Yeah.
even have their own kind of fears about being there. So
I
um
find it absolutely hilarious as well that the boat guy is making a documentary about all
yes,
the people
he's
making a
filming
documentary
Dawson.
about the island.
Yeah, he's filming Dawson filming him, and Dawson's like, "What's your documentary?" He asked Dawson what his documentary is about, and he's like, "Oh, it's about Witch Island." And he asked the boat guy, "What's your documentary about?" "My documentary is about all of the people making documentaries about Witch Island."
Ripping
Um
off the Blair Witch Project.
exactly. So yeah, at a certain point, Dawson and Joey, when they're with the tour guide, she's showing them the 13 graves of all the witches that were taken there, but there's only 12 like headstones, Joey notices.
Ooh.
So that's when the tour guide gets into the story about the one witch who grew up with this
Yes.
family, and she was kind of their adoptive daughter, and she fell in love with their son that she grew up with. So boy and girl growing up together, fall
Yeah,
in
it's
love
the
kind of
same,
thing.
it's
The
the same.
parallels of Dawson and Joey. So as they're hearing this, Joey's kind of making these comparisons, and she sounds kind of hurt the way she's talking about it, and kind of frustrated with Dawson really not investing in her life the way that he used to, and that kind of thing. Um, and so that's kind of where their relationship is settling in. And they, when it's time for the boat guy to go, they can't find Pacey and Jen, that
Yeah.
they're separated. And so by that point, the boat guy has gone, tour guide lady has gone. So they're stuck on the island overnight.
Which is
So
very dangerous, actually. I mean, that shouldn't actually be allowed to happen.
to
Surely
just
there should be
leave
some
people
sort of
there. Exactly.
emergency service search party go out.
Something, because yeah, just stay overnight at some creepy island. And when they're separated, Jen and Pacey are kind of in this, like, I don't know, in the structure, and they're talking, and yeah, the witch's brew is kind of kicking in,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they start making out, and all of a sudden we see that because I think the witches were burned in a fire and this whole kind of thing.
Mm.
So then they start seeing fire blasting out and the whole place is shaking and they're hearing all these moans and cries and screams. And then Joey and Dawson come in as well, and the four of them are just like dealing with all kind of this craziness happening. So we're actually kind of seeing it and feeling it and shaking and it's chaos. So the souls of the
Yeah.
witches have come out, and we're actually kind of witnessing this crazy magical stuff. So I like that the
We
episode
are,
kind
which
of
is why I
had
was
fun
saying
going
before,
there with
like,
it.
yeah, it's why I was saying before, it's how far does it want to go into the fantastical?
Yeah.
Like, it tries to an extent, but then almost realizes it can't afford to, almost realizes it can't become Sabrina the Teenage Witch, can it? You know, even
Yeah.
though we might want it to become Sabrina the Teenage Witch throughout the course of this episode,
Yeah.
it can't do that because then it throws off the entirety of the rest of the show. You've just
Yeah.
introduced magic to
Magic and
Dawson's Creek,
crazy
so you
things.
can't do that.
Yes. So ultimately, at the end, they try to chalk it up to the tour guide lady and the boat guy being there and just messing with them.
Yes, which
And
is a nice way of cutting it down to realism.
yes, but they still feel kind of weird about it. So the next day they go back, and as they leave the island, Dawson kind of records them sailing
Mm,
away from the island in the dock as they sail away. And then we kind of cut through to him showing this documentary to the history class, and someone kind of leans in and is like, "What's that? Like, who are those people?" And Dawson's like, "Huh?" And you do a little freeze frame and you see a man and what appears to be a man and woman, uh, you
yeah,
know, standing
in
on the dock.
18th century garb
Yes. Um,
or
Standing on the
17th
dock.
late 17th century.
Yeah, it's potentially like waving them off. So it's
Yes,
seemingly this that one lost witch and her love who came to rescue her on the dock.
in
And
silhouette form.
yes. So just kind of creepy, and then we kind of pan to the faces of Pacey and Jen and Joey and Dawson, and they're all just
Mm.
kind of looking at each other like, "This is really weird." Um, so
Is it ever
yeah.
brought up again, the fact that there's Witch Island and potentially witches in the Dawson's Creek universe, Jeannine?
Yeah,
No,
no.
it's obviously
So
not in
yeah,
there.
again, I think Joey tries to explain it away and say it must be the tour guide lady and the boat guy, and
Mm,
I
must
think
it?
yes. And I think then Dawson and Joey try to kind of agree to do better with their friendship kind of thing, and kind of make a little bit of peace with that. So
This is the
yeah,
hilarious thing is I thought they'd already done this twice.
exactly. I thought they'd done this several times, but then when this whole episode is about Joey feeling this distance from Dawson, it's like,
You're doing the
okay.
same plot lines again, Dawson's Creek. Just it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
You've already done this like
Yes.
4 episodes
So it's
ago.
like I try to read it as maybe it's just that she has been spending so much time with Pacey that that's why they kind of
Yeah.
haven't been invested in each other's lives. So
I guess.
they've made peace with their relationship being done, but they haven't really made peace with how to rebuild their friendship. So yeah,
No,
I
obviously they
I
haven't.
kind of felt like we were there, but not so much, I guess. So yeah.
Well, conveniently, it's Thanksgiving next, so obviously that's a time
Yes.
to come together as one unit and celebrate each other and celebrate the love people have for each other, isn't it, Jeannine? As we get into
Yes. And this is what I
episode
was
8.
and this is kind of the resolution of something I was telling you about with another
Yes,
character and all
resolution.
of that.
Can we put resolution in quote marks, please?
Yes, the resolution that kind of goes nowhere, which I kind of tried to warn you.
Yes.
Um,
I want to spend the entire, 25 minutes, half an hour, the rest of this show talking about this resolution that doesn't go anywhere,
yes.
please.
Oh, and the synopsis of this last episode did kind of go to the other page, and I missed that. So, it
Oh.
just says back at school, Andy takes her job on the school disciplinary committee a little too seriously when she tries to take back the halls of Cape Side. So, yes, that was kind of
Oh,
going
that's a
on in the
yes.
background as well
It
in
was,
this
yes. That
episode.
was a silly little
Yes,
plot,
which is
really.
just kind of this ironic thing because Andy obviously cheated on the SATs, and now she's the head of the
Well,
disciplinary
yeah,
committee.
she's being
Going
overzealous,
overboard.
isn't she?
Yes, yes, and Mr. Green is, like, scolding her because she's literally invoking rules that were they came up with, like, in the 1950s.
Yes.
Um,
So
so, yeah,
obviously everybody's going to be in violation of rules that were written,
exactly. She has a
50
whole
years ago.
line all the way around the corner of people she's given disciplinary notices to. So, Andy's kind of getting back into her kind of obsessive place that she was kind of like when we first met her, kind of putting all of her energies into something when she's kind of stressed about something else.
Yeah, I mean, she is, which makes me wonder, are they reverting totally back to the Andy from the beginning and doing another back and forth situation of just having her go through one entire character arc just to end up in the same place she started that one with, and then to just go through it again.
Yeah, well, I think it's maybe just meant to read that, like, because she doesn't have the thing that, like, helped change her anymore, so
Yeah, I
it's
guess.
forcing her to kind of revert back to who she was because she doesn't have that balance of Pacey around.
I guess.
Um,
I question
it's teen
Dawson's Creek's.
melodrama, just
I
we just
know,
have
I know it is. I just question Dawson's Creek's characterization and not
Yes, because
not its characterization, but its
no,
continuing
I get
characterization.
what you mean because it'll do something kind of smart and something maybe a little bit different than what you expect from a teen melodrama, and then it'll kind of ease back into teen melodrama.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Um,
reverts a little too often, I
okay.
think. I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
not like it. I'm
No,
very
no, I
much a
get that
fan of the
because I
show,
think
but it reverts a lot.
yes, and I think that's where we ran into a lot when we were talking about Cobra Kai, like that kind of thing, just kind of
Exactly.
the back and forth
Exactly.
and back and forth. Okay, so guess who's coming to dinner? Episode 308. A dysfunctional family Thanksgiving. When Jen's mom unexpectedly arrives in Cape Side on Thanksgiving morning, Dawson confronts her about her secret past and makes a decision to help bridge the gap between the estranged mother and daughter. Meanwhile, Jen continues to pursue a new type of friendship with Pacey, and Mitch and Gail make known the future of the Leary family.
Yes. I suppose we don't need to really much talk about Jen and Pacey's continuation in this episode because it's the same as from the last episode.
Well,
It's just now furthering it.
yeah, they kind of are in the grocery store talking about the rules of kind of what they wanna do, and that's when they establish, "Oh, so, we'll just be, uh, you know, uh, there for each other, at each other's whims. So, you feel like it,
Yeah,
you call me, I
that was
feel
it.
like it, I call you," and that's kind of the thing. Then I think she comes up to him in the video store. I don't know if it's the end of this last episode or if it was, like, the start of this episode when they kind of decide, "Well, do you wanna do it right now?" Like, she visits him while he's working and,
Yes.
he's like, I'm kinda tired," kinda thing. So far it's like they talk about it, they seem like they're into it, but like it's just
Nothing
never
has
the
actually
right
happened.
no, the vibe is just never the good time. So
Yeah.
then, Jen learns these things about her mother that like are very hypocritical and hurtful and frustrating for her. So she decides to kind of channel that into like, okay,
Mm,
let me just, get it out of my system with Pacey. So she pulls him into like the
yeah.
tool shed and says, okay, let's go right now. And it's clear she's angry. It's clear she's upset. It's clear she's only doing this to, just get out these frustrations, and Pacey like says no, we're not going to have angry sex, like we're not going to do it
No.
like this. And
And
Pacey
still
just
nothing
being
actually happens. And you wonder,
yeah,
and I'm there wondering if they're just going to, beat around the bush with this entire thing all the time until the plot line ends somehow.
well,
And
You will
They go,
see.
oh well, we'll definitely be friends with benefits. We'll do it all the time, Peter. Yes, we will, won't we, Jen? Yes, we definitely will. And then, right, come on, let's go and do it now. Run into the shed. Ah, I can't do it. And that's just going to be the whole thing, and it's going to happen about 18 times, and you're never actually going to be fulfilled.
You'll see. You'll see. There is a purpose for this. You will see.
I speculate.
Yes. So, yes. This is where we wrap up the Eve storyline. So,
It
Je-
is in an interesting way, because very, very interesting that Jen's mum, obviously there, never seen Jen's mum
yeah,
before. This is a very
Grams' daughter.
Grams's daughter, you know. Grams takes Thanksgiving very seriously, as we would expect, and has invited, you know, her daughter there. This
No,
is an
she showed
old.
up
Oh
there.
no,
Yeah,
she's not invited. She has turned up there. It is still a
yeah,
family Thanksgiving. The whole concept is the same.
yes,
However, this obviously comes out of nowhere and throws everybody for a loop. Obviously throws Jen for a loop. She doesn't know what this means. And Dawson, obviously, typically Dawson, takes this opportunity of learning that, I forget what Jen's last name is, Linley.
Lindley.
Mrs. Linley has turned up
Yeah,
and says, "Oh, I have some information for Mrs. Linley.
yeah.
Should I tell her? Should I be the person to tell everybody's secrets again? No, Dawson, you shouldn't. Stop
Yes.
telling everybody. Stop telling people secrets that you don't need to because you feel righteous again." And that was annoying, but he does it anyway. The whole situation, the whole scenario surrounding Jen's mum is very, very interesting. And it's there as this example of, and this is how the storyline plays out in the episode, it's there as this example of how Jen and her mother are eerily similar without realizing it, and have these, you know, her mother did something similar to what she kicked Jen out for.
Yes,
And the
and showed her no
hypocrisy of
remorse.
that,
Yeah.
showed no remorse. The hypocrisy of that kills Jen off mentally, essentially.
Yes.
It,
Yeah.
it, it, it messes with her, as it
Yes.
would, as we would expect it to. This is how this plot line should be playing out. It paints Jen's mother in a very, very poor light.
Yes.
Very, very poor light. And not simply for supposedly mother, you know, giving birth to Eve, but for kicking Jen out for doing something that she used to do herself.
Yes. But then I think we also learn by the end that, like, she is someone to, like, be pitied, and Jen kind of gets her peace of mind that my mother didn't do this because she didn't love me. My mother did this because she's a very weak person.
She is a very weak person. We understand. I think this is the interesting thing, because she's kind of a New York socialite kind of
Yes.
situation. Higher class circles, social gatherings, dinners, galas, this kind of
Yeah, yeah,
life.
committees and all of these
That
things, yeah.
committees that if scandal breaks out, you're gone. You know, you're
Yes.
out of that life. You're not in it. You get forgotten about. You get cast aside, thrown in the river,
Yes, and
metaphorically.
she establishes that her husband, Jen's father, is a very cold man.
Exactly.
So, you know,
So yes,
he
okay, you do pity her in that sense. The fact of the matter is still remains that we shouldn't be kicking our daughter out for just for this kind of reason, when you yourself have gone through
exactly.
this. We
But
should
how
be
does she
growing to understand and
Yeah,
building together. But this is what makes Jen's mother an interesting character,
yeah,
because okay, we recognize that she's a bad person for doing this, But an understandably bad person because of a situation in her life? Yes. I think
Yes.
that's fair.
Yeah, because how does she stand up for Jen without her husband knowing what she did, him being this cold, hard, heartless kind of
Precisely.
man? And if she leaves him, which Jen kind of tells her, "If you're unhappy, just leave him." She's too scared to because she doesn't wanna lose the life that she has, and she doesn't know how to live another life other than that one, and she's too scared to take that risk or take that chance. She even tells Jen, "Don't marry a cold man," kind of thing, to
Yeah.
warn her. So she feels like
Yeah.
there's no turning back. She has no outs of this situation. She's just kind of stuck. And so that's why she kind of did what she did. So Jen is able to find some semblance of peace in that it wasn't her, that it wasn't out of lack of love from her mother, or any even judgment from her mother. It was simply her
No, it was
mother.
out of fear.
Yes, it was simply her mother too scared to act, too scared to go against her husband, too scared
Fear and
to,
cowardice.
yes, to bring up scandal that would derail the only life she's ever known kind of thing.
Yeah.
So once Jen is
Fear
able
and
to
cowardice
realize
as
that,
well, that's not even entirely her fault. Fear and cowardice that has been brought on from her marriage.
yes. So Jen, I think, at least is able to find some semblance of peace in knowing that it wasn't her, that it wasn't her actions that
Yes.
made her mother treat her the way she did. Um, so I mean, but none of this would have come about, none of this reconciliation would have happened had Dawson not said anything. So do
No,
you
it wouldn't,
still
and I suppose
feel like
I suppose it is reconciliation to a
yes,
degree,
to a degree. Yeah.
but it's also an understanding of just how harsh Jen's parents, both of them, I suppose, have been to her. Like, we understood they were harsh anyway at the very start for
Yeah.
obviously sending her away to live with Grams. We understood that, but being hypocritically harsh is just that one layer above.
Yeah.
Um, I almost don't view it as reconciliation as opposed to understanding, because I think they're two very different things. And I think it's more calming for Jen's mind to know the fact rather than just seemingly have it come about through her parents, I suppose, mistrust of her, distrust of her. They don't want to deal with her anymore. They want to
Yeah.
wipe the hands of her. And it's not that. So I think that understanding helps Jen, but I
Yeah.
don't think it builds any sort of parental daughter relationship. I don't think it
No.
does.
No, that bridge has not been rebuilt,
Built.
but
No,
there is some understanding as to
there is.
why,
Yeah,
and she can find some at least peace with that and closure with that aspect of it, because she was coming from a place of feeling completely unloved. And so
exactly,
at
exactly.
least
And I don't
knowing that
think
that's
she
not the
has
case.
that anymore. Yeah,
Yes. And then also she can take some kind of pride in the fact that she is stronger than her mother. She's found herself to be a
well,
stronger
exactly.
person than her mother. Um,
Exactly, and Grant, and this is only, I think, going to further her relationship with Grams as well
yeah.
and strengthen that, and that's ultimately kind of what we want to see. I think. Quite interestingly, though, it's actually never revealed to Jen that it was
But E
Eve who was her
yes,
half sister.
yes, that was the
She's just
weird thing about it.
aware. She's just aware that her mother
Mother had another child, and that's
had
what
this
it
other
was.
child,
Yes. But they
not
never
who it
say
was.
that it was the girl who was lurking around and tried to get us to cheat on the SATs and all this scandalous business. And I don't even think
I
Jen
find
ever
it
saw
odd
it.
that I really find it odd that did Jen never see Eve?
I don't think so. Pacey did, Joey did, but I don't know that
Is
Jen ever did.
ah, that might be why, but I still find it odd given how central she was for like
I
4
mean,
episodes.
yes, we did a reaction. Go watch it over here on this very channel of the season 3 promo. Um,
Yes.
and they even named Brittany Daniels as Eve
Yeah.
in the kind of credits for what this season was gonna be. So
We're
to
never
kind of
gonna hear from her again. We're never gonna hear about her again.
No.
Never
I
mind
don't
see her.
and I'm trying to think, do they have like a, off the cuff happenstance like line about her? I'm always really fuzzy on the college years. Like I don't remember them as well as I do kind of these core high school episodes. So I don't know if they're like make some joking commentary to her and I just forgot about it. But as far as I remember, Eve is never mentioned, heard from again.
It's so
So
strange.
yes, very strange.
It's
Um
literally the whole storyline was just for Jen to understand why she's in Cape Side in the first place.
Yeah, so that was kind of the resolution of that, and to kind of play on this new persona for Dawson kind of thing. Um,
I guess, and
to
yes, okay, it might have resulted in somewhat of the correct thing happening, him telling somebody's secrets to, revealing somebody's secrets to somebody,
yeah,
this time. But he should still know better from last time
yes, to
to
mind your
not
business,
do that.
Dawson. Mind your
Mind
business.
mind your own business, you bothersome busybody.
Yes. And then just to kind of touch on the other little storylines we got, Gail and Mitch.
Oh,
They kind of
yes.
all day Gail is making the pies, Mitch is watching football. So Dawson just kind of looking at his parents like them being kind of flirty and talking, like they
Mm.
did on a regular leery Thanksgiving. Dawson just very perplexed.
Back and forth with them two
Yes.
as well, isn't it?
Yes, and she's trying to figure out, like, her work situation, so she's living at the house in the guest room and all this kinda thing, so Dawson is very perplexed at the state of his parents, and then on Thanksgiving, he reveals that, they do end up kind of they all kind of end up having their little bit of trials and tribulations kinda situation, with the day, Dawson dealing with his parents, um, and Jen with her stuff, Pacey and Andy kind of get into it, and Jack kinda has to play mediator and
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, uh, and so they all kind of come together, like, our core kind of teen group after the big Thanksgiving dinner and kind of have a moment to kind of talk and chat, and so that's when Dawson kind of shares, like, that, like, no matter the crazy adults in our lives are gonna really F with us, but we have each other kind of moment, so
Yeah, I find it kind of strange because I don't think all 6 of them, we've seen them really, for any length of time, just sit around and talk to each other as a full group
I mean,
like that.
we had those scenes like that, like, when they were watching the dance movies and Andy was kind of like trying to get them. They've had movie night
Well,
hangouts and
yeah,
things
but
like
they're
that, and
doing something. This isn't even that. This is them literally sat around a campfire
yeah,
at night, just outside. This is the kind of stuff that friend groups do.
yes.
And this might be the first time we are actually seeing just pure conversation from
I
all 6
mean
of them at the
but
same
I mean,
time.
other events, I think I would still constitute in that kind of avenue. I mean, the whole kind of study session episode also was them kind of getting into some deep conversations and
It was, yes,
tough
but they're still under the
conversations and things
context
like
of
that.
doing something.
Yes, but they're still kind of opening up to each other and
They
bonding in
are.
ways and, jumping in the pool and all that kind of thing. And then at the end, when the test gets canceled, they all just kind of go lounge out on the lawn. So we've seen them have these friend group moments, but I get what you're saying that we haven't really had a kind of situation where they're all sat together, kind of talking in this kind of thing, which I thought was
Yeah.
nice, especially for a Thanksgiving kind of
Oh,
episode
absolutely.
to see
It's a
them kind
perfect
of,
way to
you
wrap it.
know, to deal with the struggles of the frustrations of their family lives and the adults in their lives and that they can kind of come together and relate to each other um
Yeah.
uh when things are kind of difficult for them. So
Yeah.
also interesting thing which kind of frustrates me about Joey
Oh,
is
oh, are we going off Team Joey? I'm still
no,
Team
we
Joey, by
love
the
we're
way.
still team Joey. We love team Joey. But her constantly emotionally manipulating people because of her mother.
Right. I mean,
So
that's
Jen,
true. He
like,
does do that.
just kind of discounting Jen's feelings of frustration, because when Jen hears this, she's pissed about, her mother in that situation. She's pissed. She thinks it's so hypocritical. Her mom banishes her away, and, when
Well, at
she
least you have a mother, Jen.
yes, and
Oh,
Joey
stop
says,
being
you know
so mopey.
yes, and Joey totally guilts her, "At least you have a mother, don't you should talk to her, give her a chance," all these kinds of things. So, obviously, good intentions, we appreciate Joey giving that
Yes.
perspective, but also it feels a little emotionally manipulative, and I think we've seen her kinda throw dead bomb in people's faces a few times
You
when
know what it
they
feels like? You know what it feels like, don't you? This is how Joey's actually very similar to Dawson in this way.
yeah.
It's all about you, isn't it? So everything's always
Yeah,
about
it
you,
felt a little
Joey.
bit about I'm making it about myself kind of thing.
You're
So
always
obviously,
making it about you.
yeah, and
Yes,
obviously it
okay,
worked.
you have a terrible, terrible life and a terrible family situation, but you know what? In It's all relative. So do other people.
Yes, and
And
so
it might not be as bad. It might not be as bad, but it is to them. So just be
yes,
nice.
exactly. So it does work. And Jen's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Joey. Yeah, I guess I'll go talk to my mom," kind of thing. So I don't know. That kind of rubbed me a little weird.
I kind of agree with you.
Yes, Joey kind of throwing dead mom card at everybody like she does all the time. So this is like maybe
Yeah.
yet another occasion where we've seen her do this. And then I think kind of the last little bit was just kind of this antagonistic energy, which Andy just pissing me off. Like she has no
Oh,
place to be being mad
constantly.
at Pacey. Their dad
So
got
annoying.
stuck at work out of town, so they ended up not having a family Thanksgiving, so it was kind of a last minute thing for Andy and Jack to come to Grams's Thanksgiving. And
Yes.
so, Pacey's there. He was not expecting Andy to be there. And so it's just kind of he's trying to be nice. He's like, "Hey Andy, how are you doing?" She's immediately kind of rude to him, like, well,
And
da, da, da,"
Pacey's there. Pacey's there as well because he doesn't want to be at his own family
exactly. Like
Thanksgiving.
he was gonna only be there for a little bit and then go to his family Thanksgiving. And then he was like, "Hell no, I'm skipping that altogether." Um,
Yes.
so yeah, Andy's just really rude to him because, obviously kind of they slept together, and then he said, "I'm sorry, that was kind of a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. We're still broken up." And so she's still holding on to some kind of like F you for that. Um,
Yes.
and so she's just being kind of antagonistic towards him, and they're kind of going back and forth a little bit, and Jack kind of has to mediate. But then obviously it's Thanksgiving, she's like, "I'll go." Pacey's like, "I'll go." Jack's like, "Just stay, like, stop the two of you." And so ultimately they end up staying and kind of end up working things out, and it's fine, and to lead to this nice kind of campfire moment with all of them sat
Yes, it's
around,
fine up to that
talking.
point. God knows,
Yeah.
God knows, where it'll start kicking off again.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
fine at the moment.
Yeah. So seemingly all of our broken up couples have on the path to kind of repairing those relationships and making friendships, and you know Jen
Yes, which
and
is nice.
Pacey
It's what
making their own
Thanksgiving's
little.
about.
Yes, exactly. Jen and Pacey on the road to their little kind of fun little friendship. Joey
Yeah.
and Pacey on the road to like a nice kind of Dawson and Joey level friendship.
Mm.
So yes. So yeah, nice
It's
little kind of
interesting.
Thanksgiving, our crew together by the fire kind of ending. So
It
yeah.
is. It's a surprisingly wholesome way to end off this particular couple
Yeah.
of episodes for this week's episode of Discovering Dawson's Creek. The messiness does continue. I'm only imagining the messiness will continue,
Yes.
Jeannine, as I think we've
Oh yes.
speculated enough of on today's episode. But fun times. Dawson's Creek's always bringing the feels, bringing the emotion, bringing
Yeah.
the intensity out of my opinions on things. But that shows how much I enjoy it. That shows how much I'm into it.
Okay.
Because I think you'd rather me be like this and question a lot of
Yes,
things than not
um,
care.
I might feel maybe a little protective of it when you say certain things, but once you kind of break it down for me, I get where you're
Yes.
coming from. I get what you're saying, and that's why this is like a fun first time watch for you. You're kind of easing into these things, and I have to remember that I know where they're going, so that's where
Yes.
our difference of
Just
thinking kind
wait.
of comes from.
Just
But
you wait until we switch these shows up in the future to a
to
full
think I
Jeannine
haven't
hasn't
seen.
seen show. And
Yes.
it's something I'm very protective of, and you're making fun of it all the time. That's not going to be fun,
Well,
is it?
I do appreciate your passionate perspective when you kind of are
Yes,
really
thank you.
interested in the characters and why they're doing these things, and you
I
really are
am.
interested to know. So I always appreciate that.
I very much am. Of course, as we said before, subscribe and ding your notification
Yes.
bell on this YouTube channel for all the fun stuff we have here, and subscribe to the main It's a Wonderful podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts on all major platforms. Things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen all episode long, as well social medias, the Patreon donation links, the merch store, all
Yeah.
that fun stuff is in the description, which leaves only one thing left to do, of course, Jeannine, although there's not really any sort of fun impression.
No.
Dawson's not particularly whiny, and that's the best
No.
impression from Dawson's Creek. So maybe impression of a witch, given that one of our episodes was witchy.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
That was the Wicked Witch of the West. Bye!
You just said a witch. You didn't specify which one.
It's a good witch, a good witch.